Good evening, dear travelers, and welcome to Snug as a Bug. I'm Atticus, and tonight we're embarking on a journey deep into the sands of time, exploring the mysteries and ancient legends of Egypt. As you settle into your bed, take a deep breath in and then out, allowing the weight of the day to gently melt away. You are safe, relaxed, and ready to be transported to a land where gods once walked the earth and pharaohs ruled under the desert stars. Tonight's soothing tales will take you through the creation myth of Ra, the sun god who brought life and order to the world, followed by Osiris and the Underworld, where the king of the dead reigns over the souls of the departed. We'll then enter the judgment of the dead, where the heart is weighed against the feather of truth, and finally uncover the curse of the Pharaoh, guarding the ancient tombs of Egypt. Let the ancient myths of this sacred land guide you to peace as the soft winds of the desert carry you into a deep and restful sleep. Before we begin our journey through the sands of Egypt, let's take a moment to release any tension and fully relax. Gently close your eyes and allow your body to sink deeper into your bed, feeling completely supported as though the soft sands of the desert cradle you. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs with calm, and then exhale, letting go of any lingering worries. With each breath, feel your body growing lighter, your mind becoming quieter, and your spirit calming. Now, picture yourself standing on the edge of the great desert. The air is warm and still, and the golden sands stretch out endlessly before you, shimmering under the light of the moon. Above you, the stars form a canopy, glittering like the jewels of ancient pharaohs, and beneath your feet, the desert hums with the energy of forgotten kingdoms. As you stand there, feel a gentle breeze sweep across the sands, guiding you forward, deeper into the mysteries of this sacred land. The warmth of the desert air wraps around you like a comforting embrace, and the soft, rhythmic sound of the wind whispers the secrets of ancient Egypt into your ears. Now, you are ready to walk the paths of the pharaohs, to discover the hidden stories of the gods and the legends of the sands. Let go and allow the tales to carry you away as you drift peacefully into a restful sleep. The Creation Myth of Ra, Chapter 1, The Waters of None. In the beginning, before time had unfurled its endless scroll, there was nothing. No light, no stars, no earth, no sky, only darkness, thick and deep, stretching out into infinity. And within this great and endless void lay the waters of Nun, the primordial sea, formless and boundless, a stillness that existed before creation itself. Imagine for a moment those waters. Close your eyes and feel the vastness, the emptiness. The waters are calm, peaceful even, but they are not like the seas we know. These waters are the very essence of potential, the source from which all life would one day emerge. They are neither warm nor cold. They are simply there, infinite and unchanging. The surface of the waters is smooth, like the most delicate piece of silk, stretching out in all directions without end, without any sign of land, horizon, or life. In this space, there is no time, no movement, no sound. Just a deep, endless silence that wraps around you like the softest blanket, lulling you into a deep, restful calm. It is in these waters, these infinite, timeless waters, that the universe as we know it waited to be born. You can imagine yourself there now, floating in the quiet, in the stillness, weightless and free. No thoughts, no worries, just the soft rhythmic rise and fall of the primordial sea beneath you. It is a place of perfect peace, where nothing exists but potential. But deep within the waters of Nun, something stirred. It was not sudden, not violent. It was more like a whisper, a breath of something new. A faint ripple spread across the surface, so subtle that it almost didn't disturb the calm. It was the first sign of change, the first moment of creation. For within the depths of Nun, a great power lay hidden, waiting for its time to emerge. The ripple grew slowly, steadily, as if the universe itself was waking from a long and deep slumber. And from the heart of these endless waters, something began to rise. Slowly at first, as though it had always been there, just waiting to emerge, the Benben, the first mound of land, broke through the surface of the sea. The waters parted gently around it, revealing a small, solitary island, standing alone in the midst of the vast, dark sea. This was the first land, the very beginning of the earth. It was small, unassuming, but within it lay the seed of all that would come. The Benben was the foundation of creation, the place where the world would begin to take shape. You can imagine it now, standing alone in the middle of the waters of Nun, like a tiny beacon of hope in the endless void. But the Benben was not the only thing to emerge from the waters that day. From the peak of the mound, a light began to glow. At first it was faint, barely a glimmer in the deep darkness of the void, but it grew stronger, brighter, until it blazed like 1,000 suns. This was no ordinary light. This was the birth of Ra, the great sun god, the first god of all creation. Ra rose from the peak of the Benben, his radiant form glowing with a brilliance that had never before been seen. His body was made of pure light, his eyes burning like the sun itself. His presence filled the void, chasing away the darkness and bringing warmth and life to the world for the first time. As Ra stood upon the Benben, his light spread out in all directions, touching the waters of Nun and transforming them from a place of stillness and emptiness into a realm filled with the potential for life. Ra looked out over the endless expanse of water and earth and saw that the time had come for creation to begin. His light was the spark that would set the universe in motion, but there was still much work to be done. The world was just beginning to take shape, and Ra knew that he would need to guide it, to shape it, to bring order to the chaos that still lingered in the void. And so Ra began his great work. Chapter 2. Ra's first journey across the sky continued. Ra's light, golden and warm, bathed the new world. The landscape he created was vast and varied, with towering mountains rising from the depths of the waters, their peaks touching the freshly born sky. He created valleys, stretching wide with fertile plains that would one day become lush and green. Rivers, fed by the moisture from the air, snaked through the earth like veins, their waters crystal clear and full of promise. Ra looked upon his creation and felt the stirring of life beginning to awaken. As he journeyed further across the sky, the light of the day became brighter and more intense. The world, which had been dark and silent, now felt alive with potential. The gentle warmth of the sun began to spread across the land, and the waters below shimmered with reflected light. It was a world waiting to be filled with life, but it was not yet complete. Ra knew that creation was a delicate balance between light and shadow, order and chaos. His role was to ensure that balance remained. With each passing moment, Ra's journey across the sky painted the heavens with new colors. First, the soft blues and purples of dawn, then the bright golds and deep blues of midday. It was a breathtaking display, as if the universe itself was rejoicing in its newfound existence. The earth, too, responded to Ra's light, absorbing its energy and preparing itself for the life that was soon to come. But even as the world began to take shape, Ra knew that his task was far from over. He had created the sky and the earth, but the forces of chaos still lingered, threatening the balance he had worked so hard to achieve. Ra understood that he could not shape this world alone. He needed help. He needed others to share in the work of creation, to help bring order to the forces of chaos that still swirled around the edges of the world. Chapter 3. The Creation of the Gods. Ra, in his infinite wisdom, knew that he could not maintain the balance of creation on his own, and so, with his divine power, he created 2 new gods to help him shape the world. The first was Shu, the god of air. Shu was strong and tall, with arms that stretched high above his head, lifting the sky and holding it aloft. His breath was the wind, gentle and refreshing, flowing over the earth and filling it with life. It was Shu who separated the sky from the earth, ensuring that the heavens would remain high above, while the earth remained firm and steady below. The second god Ra created was Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. Tefnut was as graceful as the morning dew, her touch gentle and nurturing. She brought rain to the earth, feeding the rivers and lakes that Ra had created. Together, Shu and Tefnut worked in harmony, bringing balance to the elements of air and water. The sky, the earth, and the waters were now separate but connected, each essential to the life that would soon flourish in Ra's world. From the union of Shu and Tefnut came 2 more gods, Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. Geb was strong and steadfast, his body forming the solid ground upon which all life would walk. Nut, on the other hand, was ethereal and graceful, her body stretching out across the heavens, dotted with stars that twinkled softly in the night. Ra commanded that Shu lift Nut high into the heavens, separating her from Geb. As Shu held Nut aloft, the sky was formed, and the earth was solidified. Geb looked up longingly at Nut, his beloved, but Ra's command ensured that they would remain apart, creating the space between the earth and the heavens. And so the world was divided into the elements of sky, air, water, and earth, all working together in perfect harmony. Ra watched as the world took shape beneath him, and he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. But even as the gods worked together to bring order to the world, Ra knew that chaos still lurked in the darkness. Creation was not yet complete. The forces of chaos would soon rise, and Ra would need to be ready to face them. Chapter 4. Ra's Battle with Apep. As the light of day began to fade, the world grew quiet. The sky, once bright and full of Ra's golden light, now deepened into shades of purple and indigo. Night was approaching, and with it came the return of the darkness. But this darkness was not the peaceful void from which the world had been born. No, this was a darkness filled with danger, for lurking in the shadows was Apep, the great serpent of chaos. Apep, ancient and powerful, hated the light. He had watched from the depths of the primordial waters as Ra brought order to the world, and he seethed with rage. The light was a threat to Apep, a reminder of the balance that Ra sought to maintain. And so every night as the sun set and Ra descended into the underworld, Apep would rise from the depths, seeking to devour Ra's light and plunge the world back into chaos. The battle between Ra and Apep was fierce, but it was not one of physical combat. It was a battle of wills, a cosmic struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness. Each night, Apep would try to coil his massive body around the sun, seeking to swallow it whole and extinguish its light forever. But Ra was strong, and he was determined. He knew that the world depended on his light, and he could not let it be taken by the forces of chaos. The battle raged on, night after night, as Ra journeyed through the underworld. Apep would strike, his dark serpentine body thrashing through the waters, but Ra would always prevail. With the power of his light, Ra would drive Apep back into the depths of Nun, ensuring that the sun would rise again and bring light to the world once more. For the listener, this battle can be imagined as a slow rhythmic dance, a constant push and pull, like the ebb and flow of the tides. There is tension, but no fear, for Ra's strength is unwavering. Each night, as the world falls into darkness, Ra descends into the underworld, knowing that he will face Apep again. And each morning he rises victorious, his light once again casting its golden glow over the world. Chapter 5. The Creation of Humanity and Life. With the forces of chaos held at bay, Ra turned his attention back to the world he had created. The sky, the earth, the waters, they were all in harmony. But the world was still empty. It was time to fill the earth with life. Ra, standing upon the Ben-Ben, looked out over the world and felt a deep sense of joy. His light had brought balance and order to the chaos of the void, and now it would bring forth life. From his eyes Ra shed tears of joy, and as these divine tears fell upon the earth, they transformed into the first humans. The humans were Ra's greatest creation, beings made in his image, filled with the light of his divine essence. They were small and fragile compared to the gods, but they were filled with potential. Ra looked upon them with love, for they were the children of his light, born from his own tears. Under Ra's light, the humans flourished. The rivers flowed with life-giving water, the trees grew tall and strong, and the animals roamed the earth, filling it with movement and energy. The humans too began to build, to create, to shape the world in their own way. They looked up to the sky and saw Ra's light shining down upon them, and they worshipped him as their creator, their protector. Ra, in turn, watched over them with pride. He guided them with his light, teaching them the ways of balance and harmony. The humans learned to live in tune with the world around them, respecting the balance between light and dark, order and chaos. The world was now complete. Life had taken root, and the cycle of creation was in full swing. Day and night, light and darkness, life and death, all worked together in perfect harmony, guided by the steady hand of Ra. Chapter 6. Ra's Reign and the Beginning of the Pharaohs. For many years, Ra ruled over the earth, guiding humanity and the gods alike. His light brought prosperity to the world, and under his reign all things flourished. But as time passed, Ra grew weary. He had worked tirelessly to create and maintain the balance of the world, and now he knew it was time to pass on his responsibilities. Ra decided to appoint a ruler, someone who could lead humanity in his place, someone who would uphold the balance and order he had established. And so Ra chose the first pharaoh. The pharaoh was not just a king, but a living god, chosen by Ra to rule over the people of Egypt. In a grand ceremony, Ra's light shone down upon the first pharaoh, blessing him with divine authority. The people of Egypt rejoiced, for they knew that their pharaoh was the earthly representative of Ra, the one who would continue the work of maintaining balance in the world. The pharaohs would rule Egypt for centuries to come, each one seen as a direct link between the gods and humanity. Ra's light would continue to shine upon them, guiding them in their rule and ensuring that the world remained in harmony. Though Ra no longer ruled the earth directly, his presence was always felt. His light, the source of all life and creation, continued to shine from the heavens, a constant reminder of the balance and order he had brought to the world. Chapter 7. The Cycle of Creation and the Eternal Journey. And so Ra's journey continued. Each day he rose from the horizon, bringing light and life to the world. Each night he descended into the underworld, battling Apep to ensure that the light would return. The cycle of creation and destruction, of day and night, continued endlessly, a perfect balance that kept the world in harmony. Ra's presence was felt in every sunrise, in every sunset. His light was a reminder of the eternal cycle of life, of the balance between light and darkness, order and chaos. And though Ra no longer ruled the earth directly, his influence was still felt in every aspect of creation. As Ra's light faded and night approached, the world would rest, knowing that the sun would rise again. And so too, dear listener, can you rest, knowing that the cycle of creation is eternal, that balance will always be restored. The Tale of Osiris and the Underworld. Chapter 1. The Peaceful Reign of Osiris. In the heart of ancient Egypt, under the ever-watchful eye of the sun god Ra, a great and prosperous kingdom flourished. The Nile, wide and powerful, cut through the land, its life-giving waters nourishing the people, animals, and crops that depended on it. The sky above was always a bright blue, the horizon stretching out endlessly beyond the pyramids and temples that dotted the landscape. It was a time of peace, a time of abundance, and at the center of this golden age sat the wise and just god, Osiris. Osiris was not like the other gods, who often displayed their powers with ferocity or grandeur. He was a kind and compassionate ruler, beloved by the people of Egypt. His reign brought harmony and balance to the land, much like the gentle flow of the Nile, always constant, always life-giving. Under his leadership, the people learned the secrets of agriculture, how to work with the land rather than against it, growing crops that would sustain them through the harshest of seasons. Picture the lush green fields swaying gently in the breeze. Farmers, their faces serene and content, worked under the warm gaze of the sun, their hands tending the earth, planting seeds and harvesting crops with gratitude in their hearts. It was Osiris who had taught them these sacred practices. Through him, they had learned to honor the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, the very essence of existence itself. But Osiris's wisdom was not limited to the physical world. He also taught the people about the mysteries of the soul, about the journey that each person must undertake in the afterlife. For in Osiris's heart lay the secret knowledge of the Duat, the underworld, where the souls of the dead would travel after their time on earth. It was a place of trials and tests, but also of great beauty and peace for those who lived a righteous life. His teachings filled the people with hope and reverence. They knew that their souls would be weighed in the underworld, judged by the great Osiris himself. If their hearts were light and free of sin, they would be granted eternal peace in the field of reeds, a paradise where the rivers ran clear, the crops grew tall, and the air was always sweet. This belief in the afterlife guided the people in their daily lives, encouraging them to act with kindness and fairness. knowing that Osiris's judgment awaited them beyond the veil of death. And so, under Osiris's rule, Egypt prospered. The people lived in harmony with the land, with each other, and with the gods. The temples were filled with offerings, and the festivals held in Osiris's honor were joyful occasions, filled with music, dance, and the sweet smell of incense. The kingdom thrived, not just in wealth, but in spirit. But as with all stories of greatness, there were forces that sought to disrupt the peace. In the shadows, jealousy and resentment grew. Osiris's brother, Set, god of the desert and chaos, looked upon Osiris's success with hatred in his heart. Set, wild and untamed, thrived on disorder and destruction, and he could not bear to see his brother so beloved, so revered. And so, as the people of Egypt celebrated the blessings of their wise king, Set plotted his betrayal. Chapter 2. The Betrayal of Set. In the desolate lands of the desert, far from the fertile fields of the Nile, Set brooded. His eyes, dark and burning with envy, watched as Osiris continued to bring prosperity and peace to Egypt. The more the people loved Osiris, the more Set's hatred festered. The desert was his domain, a place of death, of harsh winds and barren sands, and yet here was his brother, ruling over a land that blossomed under his care. Set was not without his own power. He was a god of great strength and cunning, and he ruled the desert with an iron fist. But it was not enough for him. He wanted more. He wanted to rule over all of Egypt, to see the fertile lands of the Nile wither under his control, to turn the green fields into the same lifeless dust that filled his own domain. But more than that, he wanted to see Osiris fall. And so Set devised a plan. It was a plan born of cunning, deception, and cruelty. A plan that would change the course of Egypt's history forever. Set invited Osiris to a grand banquet, held in his honor. It was a gesture of brotherly love, or so it seemed. The feast was lavish, with tables overflowing with fruits, meats, and wine, and the air was filled with the sound of music and laughter. Osiris, ever trusting, accepted the invitation without question, for in his heart there was no place for suspicion. He believed that his brother, though wild and tempestuous, still loved him in his own way. As the night wore on, Set presented a magnificent gift to Osiris, a beautifully crafted wooden chest, inlaid with gold and adorned with intricate carvings. The chest, Set claimed, was made to fit the exact measurements of the king. It was a gift worthy of a god, a symbol of the respect Set supposedly held for his brother. The guests marveled at the chest, and Set, with a smile that did not reach his eyes, suggested that Osiris try it out, to see if it truly fit him. Osiris, good-natured and unaware of the trap that had been laid for him, agreed. He lay down inside the chest, and as soon as he did, Set's eyes gleamed with triumph. Before Osiris could rise, Set and his followers slammed the lid shut, locking Osiris inside the chest. In that moment, the music stopped, the laughter died, and the air grew thick with tension. The guests, frozen in shock, watched in horror as Set and his followers carried the chest away, their footsteps echoing through the silent hall. Set had not just trapped Osiris. He had sealed him away from the world of the living, locking him in a prison of wood and darkness. And with Osiris gone, Set declared himself the new ruler of Egypt, a king of chaos and destruction. The people of Egypt, once blessed with peace and abundance, now found themselves under the rule of a tyrant. The Nile, which had once flowed steadily and brought life to the land, began to dry up. The crops withered, and the people, filled with fear and despair, prayed for the return of their rightful king. But Osiris's story did not end there, for even in death, the power of Osiris would not be extinguished. Deep in the underworld, where the souls of the dead journeyed, Osiris would rise again. Chapter 3. The Search of Isis. While Set reveled in his newfound power, Osiris's wife, the goddess Isis, refused to accept her husband's fate. Isis was a goddess of great wisdom and magic, and her love for Osiris was boundless. She knew that without Osiris, the world would fall into chaos, and she could not bear to see the land they had nurtured together fall into ruin. Isis set out on a journey that would take her to the ends of the earth, to the farthest corners of the desert, in search of her beloved Osiris. She wandered through the scorching sands and the barren wastelands, her heart heavy with grief, but her spirit unbroken. For Isis was a goddess of resilience, and she would stop at nothing to bring Osiris back. She searched high and low, asking the winds for guidance, listening to the whispers of the trees, following the trail of the stars. But the chest in which Osiris had been imprisoned remained hidden, concealed by Set's dark magic. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but Isis did not give up. Her determination was as fierce as the sun itself, and she knew that somewhere, somehow, Osiris was waiting for her. It was during her journey that Isis encountered her sister Nephthys, who had been married to Set but did not share his cruelty. Nephthys, moved by her sister's devotion and love, offered her help. Together, the two goddesses searched the land, their combined magic and wisdom guiding them ever closer to Osiris. At last, after many long months of searching, Isis found the chest. It had been hidden deep within the marshes of the Nile, concealed among the reeds and the waters. Isis's heart leaped with joy as she approached the chest, her hands trembling as she opened it, hoping beyond hope that Osiris would be alive. But when she lifted the lid, her joy turned to sorrow. Osiris lay inside, still and lifeless, his body cold to the touch. Set's treachery had been complete. Osiris, the god of life and death, had been slain. Yet even in her grief, Isis did not despair, for she knew that death was not the end. With her powerful magic and the help of Nephthys, she began the sacred rituals that would bring Osiris back from the underworld. She called upon the winds, the waters, the very forces of nature itself, weaving her spells with the care and precision of a master artisan. And slowly, ever so slowly, the power of life began to stir within Osiris once more. Chapter 4. The Resurrection of Osiris. Isis, the goddess of magic, stood beside the still form of her beloved Osiris, her heart filled with both hope and fear. She knew that the task before her was great. Bringing a soul back from the underworld was no small feat, even for a goddess. But her love for Osiris, her determination to restore balance to the world, gave her the strength she needed. With every word she spoke, every spell she cast, the air around them seemed to shimmer with a golden light. The winds whispered through the reeds, the waters of the Nile lapped gently at the shore. And the very earth itself seemed to hum with energy. It was as if all of creation was watching, waiting for the moment when Osiris would rise again. Isis's magic was powerful, but it was her love that truly worked the miracle. Slowly, Osiris's chest began to rise and fall with breath. His eyes, once closed in death, fluttered open, and he looked up at Isis with a gaze filled with both sadness and peace. He had seen the underworld, had journeyed through the realm of the dead, and he had returned. But Osiris was no longer the same. Death had touched him, and though he had been brought back to life, he was not meant to remain in the world of the living. His place was now in the Duat, the underworld, where he would reign as the god of the dead, guiding the souls of the departed on their journey through the afterlife. Isis wept, for though she had brought Osiris back, she knew that he could not stay with her. But Osiris, ever wise and compassionate, reassured her. His death, though tragic, had not been in vain. For in the underworld he would continue to serve, bringing order to the realm of the dead, just as he had brought order to the realm of the living. And so Osiris descended into the Duat, where he would rule as the king of the dead. There he would preside over the judgment of souls, weighing the hearts of the dead against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. Those whose hearts were light and free of sin would be granted eternal peace in the field of reeds, while those whose hearts were heavy with wrongdoing would be devoured by the fearsome Ammit. Chapter 5. The Judgment of the Dead. In the depths of the Duat, Osiris sat upon his throne, his presence calm and steady. The underworld was a place of mystery and beauty, a land of shadows and light, where the souls of the dead journeyed after their time on earth had ended. It was not a place of fear, but rather a place of transition, where each soul would be judged according to the life they had lived. Osiris, with his serene gaze and gentle demeanor, presided over the weighing of the heart ceremony. In this sacred ritual, each soul would step forward, their heart placed upon the scales of justice, balanced against the feather of Ma'at. The feather, light as air, represented truth, purity, and righteousness. If the heart was light and unburdened by sin, the scales would remain balanced, and the soul would be granted passage to the field of reeds. But if the heart was heavy with wrongdoing, the scales would tip, and the soul would face its final judgment. The god Anubis, with his jackal head and wise eyes, stood beside the scales, overseeing the ritual with a watchful gaze. It was Anubis who guided the souls through the underworld, leading them to Osiris's throne for judgment. And beside Anubis stood Thoth, the scribe of the gods, who recorded the results of each judgment with meticulous care. The scene was solemn, yet peaceful. The souls, though filled with trepidation, knew that Osiris was fair and just. They had lived their lives with the knowledge that this moment would come, and they trusted in the wisdom of Osiris to guide them to their rightful place in the afterlife. Those whose hearts were pure were welcomed into the field of reeds, a paradise where the rivers flowed clear and the crops grew tall. It was a land of eternal peace and abundance, a place where the souls could live in harmony with the gods, free from the burdens of their earthly lives. But for those whose hearts were heavy, the fate was far different. The terrifying figure of Ammit, part lion, part crocodile, part hippopotamus, waited beside the scales. If a heart was deemed unworthy, Ammit would devour it, and the soul would be condemned to oblivion, erased from existence. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Osiris. Though Osiris now ruled in the underworld, his presence was still felt in the world of the living. The people of Egypt continued to honor him as the god of life, death, and resurrection. They built grand temples in his name, offering prayers and sacrifices to ensure his favor in both life and death. Osiris's story, one of death and rebirth, became the central myth of Egyptian spirituality. It was a reminder that death was not the end, but rather a transition, a journey from one realm to another. The people believed that, like Osiris, they too would one day be reborn, their souls traveling to the Duat to be judged, and if worthy, to live forever in the field of reeds. And so the cycle of life and death continued, with Osiris at its heart. His reign in the underworld brought order to the afterlife, just as his reign on earth had brought peace to the living. Through his story, the people of Egypt found comfort, knowing that death was not something to be feared, but rather a part of the natural order of the universe. Isis, though saddened by Osiris's departure, continued to rule alongside her sister Nephthys, watching over the people of Egypt and guiding them with her wisdom. She never forgot her love for Osiris, and her devotion to him remained unwavering. Together, the gods ensured that the balance between life and death, order and chaos, was maintained. And as the years passed, the story of Osiris and his journey to the underworld was told again and again, passed down through generations. It became a tale of hope, of resilience, of the power of love and justice. And in the hearts of the people, Osiris's light continued to shine, guiding them on their own journeys through life and beyond. The Judgment of the Dead. Chapter 1. The Path to the Duat. In the lands of ancient Egypt, there was a belief as old as the Nile itself. Life, though cherished, was not the final journey. Every soul would one day step beyond the world of the living and embark on a voyage far greater, far more mysterious. The voyage would take them into the Duat, the underworld, where they would face the ultimate test, the judgment of the dead. The Duat was no ordinary place. It was not a realm of endless darkness or mere oblivion. Instead, it was a land of rich, vibrant landscapes, shifting between shadow and light. To the ancient Egyptians, the Duat was as real as the world they lived in, but infinitely more complex. Its rivers flowed not just with water, but with the currents of time and destiny. Its skies were adorned with stars that whispered ancient truths, and its vast desert stretched beyond the horizons of understanding. But the Duat was not a place to be entered lightly. Only those who had passed from the mortal world could journey here, led by the god Anubis, the jackal-headed guide of souls. Anubis, with his wise, watchful eyes, stood at the threshold of life and death, waiting patiently for the souls that would one day arrive. Imagine, if you will, the soul beginning its journey. The mortal body is left behind, lying still in its tomb, wrapped carefully in linens and adorned with amulets. But the soul, light as a feather, begins to rise. It is neither frightened nor eager. It simply moves forward, drawn by the pull of the Duat, as inevitable as the setting sun. The journey to the afterlife is not one of sorrow, but of destiny fulfilled. The soul travels through the tomb, through the silence and stillness, passing the stone carvings of gods and the painted hieroglyphs that tell the stories of the living. It drifts through the narrow corridors and finally emerges into the vastness of the Duat, a realm both familiar and strange. The journey has begun, and there is no turning back. Anubis waits at the entrance to the Duat, his tall, graceful figure illuminated by the soft glow of the underworld's eternal twilight. He is patient, as he has always been, for he knows that every soul must face this journey. With a gesture both kind and commanding, he beckons the soul to follow him. And so the soul, light and untethered, steps into the duat, where the true path to judgment begins. The landscape of the duat shifts and changes as the soul moves deeper into it. Sometimes the ground is as solid as the earth of the living world, with rivers, trees, and mountains that feel almost familiar. Other times, the soul finds itself floating above shifting sands, or gliding through waters that ripple with reflections of memories long past. There is a sense of calm, but also of anticipation. The soul knows that its journey has a purpose, and that purpose is to reach the Hall of Two Truths, where the final judgment awaits. But the path to the hall is not easy. Along the way, the soul must pass through 12 gates, each guarded by powerful beings. These beings, neither hostile nor friendly, watch the soul with eyes that seem to see into the very heart of existence. They do not speak, but their presence is enough to remind the soul of the gravity of this journey. Each gate represents a trial, a test of the soul's readiness to face the truth of its life. With each gate the soul passes, it sheds the last remnants of its mortal existence. The fears, doubts, and regrets of life fall away, leaving only the essence of the soul's true nature. And as the final gate approaches, the soul feels lighter than ever, ready to face the ultimate judgment. Chapter 2: The Hall of Two Truths. Beyond the final gate, the soul arrives at the Hall of Two Truths, the place where its entire life will be laid bare. The hall is vast, its ceilings stretching so high that they seem to touch the heavens. The walls are adorned with hieroglyphs and images of gods and goddesses, their serene faces watching silently as each soul enters. The floor is made of polished stone, cool and smooth beneath the soul's ethereal feet. At the center of the hall stands a great set of scales, enormous and gleaming. These are the scales of Ma'at, and they will determine the fate of the soul. On one side of the scales rests the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. The feather is delicate, yet impossibly powerful, for it represents the very essence of balance in the universe. It is light as air, pure and unblemished. On the other side of the scales, the soul's heart will be placed. In life, the heart was the seat of emotion, thought, and desire. It carried the weight of every action, every choice, and every intention the soul made during its time on earth. Now, in death, the heart will be weighed against the feather, and this will determine the soul's fate. But the soul is not alone in the hall. Seated on a grand throne at the far end is Osiris, ruler of the Underworld. Osiris is calm, his presence radiating peace and authority. He has seen countless souls pass through his hall, and he knows the secrets of the afterlife better than any. His green skin symbolizes life, death, and rebirth, and his serene eyes gaze out over the hall, watching as each soul approaches the scales. Beside the scales stands Anubis, the guardian of the dead, and it is he who will guide the soul through the weighing ceremony. Anubis's jackal head is as steady as stone, his eyes wise and compassionate. He knows that this moment is one of the most important in the journey of a soul, and he treats it with the utmost respect. As the soul approaches the scales, it feels a sense of stillness and calm. The hall is silent, save for the faint sound of the scales gently swaying. The moment has come. Anubis gestures for the soul to step forward. and as it does, a golden thread of light appears, connecting the heart of the soul to the scales. The heart is lifted from the soul, weightless and glowing softly. It is placed carefully on one side of the scales, while the feather of Ma'at remains on the other. The soul watches, breath held, as the scales begin to balance, the heart and the feather poised in delicate harmony. Chapter 3. The weighing of the heart. The scales tip ever so slightly, swaying as if caught in a gentle breeze. The hall, though vast, feels intimate in this moment. Every eye, every divine presence in the room is focused on the delicate balance between the heart of the soul and the feather of Ma'at. The soul, standing before the gods, can feel the weight of its entire life hanging in that balance. The heart, though no longer a physical organ, carries the essence of every action, every decision, and every emotion that the soul experienced in life. It is the vessel that holds the soul's truth, and now that truth must be measured against the purity of Ma'at, the embodiment of universal balance and order. Anubis, steady and patient, watches the scales closely. His role in this sacred ritual is to ensure that justice is served, that the soul is judged fairly. His jackal face remains impassive, but there is a quiet compassion in his eyes. He understands the importance of this moment, not just for the soul standing before him, but for the balance of the universe itself. As the scales continue to sway, the soul reflects on its life. It remembers the moments of joy, the moments of sorrow. It remembers the choices it made, both good and bad. Every deed, every word, every thought is present in the heart. And now it is being weighed, not against the harshness of punishment, but against the lightness of truth. The scales begin to settle, their movement slowing until they come to a gentle stop. The soul watches as the heart and the feather rest in perfect balance. A sense of peace washes over the soul, for it knows that it has lived a life in harmony with Ma'at's principles of truth and justice. The soul's heart is light, unburdened by the weight of wrongdoing, and the scales reflect that balance. But not every soul is so fortunate. For some, the heart is heavy with the weight of sin, of actions taken in selfishness or cruelty. When such a heart is placed on the scales, it tips them, pulling the balance out of harmony. The scales do not lie, for they are the very essence of justice, and they reveal the true nature of the soul. When a heart is found to be heavy, the consequences are grave. For standing beside the scales, waiting in the shadows, is Ammit, the devourer of the dead. Ammit is a fearsome creature, part lion, part crocodile, and part hippopotamus. She is not evil, but she is a force of balance, a being whose role is to ensure that those who are unworthy do not pass into the afterlife. If the heart is heavier than the feather, Anubis will turn to Ammit, and she will devour the heart, consuming it completely. The soul, once devoured, is erased from existence, condemned to oblivion. There is no punishment, no eternal suffering, only non-existence. The soul that fails the test of the scales simply ceases to be. But for the souls whose hearts are light, there is no fear of Ammit. They are welcomed into the next stage of their journey, free to pass into the eternal paradise of the Field of Reeds. Chapter 4. The Field of Reeds. For those souls who pass the test of the scales, the journey does not end in the Hall of Two Truths. Instead, they are granted passage into the Field of Reeds, the paradise of the afterlife. This is a place of eternal peace, where the soul can live in harmony with the gods. and enjoy the rewards of a life lived in balance with Ma'at. The Field of Reeds is a reflection of the idealized world, a place where the soul can experience all the joys of life without the struggles and hardships. The rivers here are clear and calm, their waters sparkling in the golden light of an eternal sun. The fields are lush and green, filled with crops that grow tall and abundant, never withering, never failing. The air is always warm, always gentle, carrying the sweet scent of flowers and the distant song of birds. The soul, now free of its mortal burdens, walks through these fields with a sense of wonder and peace. It feels the soft grass beneath its feet, the warmth of the sun on its skin, and the gentle breeze that carries with it the promise of eternal contentment. There is no fear here, no pain, no sorrow, only the pure joy of existence. In the Field of Reeds, the soul is reunited with loved ones who have passed before. Family, friends, ancestors, all those who lived good lives are here, waiting to welcome the soul into this paradise. The reunions are filled with laughter and joy, the bonds of love and friendship unbroken by death. The gods, too, walk among the souls in the Field of Reeds. Osiris, the ruler of the Underworld, watches over this paradise with a serene gaze, ensuring that the balance of the afterlife is maintained. His presence brings a sense of order and peace to the souls, for they know that they are safe under his protection. The Field of Reeds is not a place of idleness, however. The souls here continue to work, but the work is joyful and fulfilling. They tend to the crops, they fish in the rivers, they build and create, all without the struggles of the mortal world. Everything they do here is a reflection of the balance they maintained in life, and they are rewarded with the eternal satisfaction of a life well lived. But the most beautiful part of the Field of Reeds is not the landscape or the work. It is the sense of connection that permeates everything. The soul is connected to the land, to the gods, to the other souls. It is a place where everything is in harmony, where the balance of the universe is felt in every breath, every step, every moment. Here in this eternal paradise, the soul finds its true home. It is no longer bound by the limitations of the mortal world, but instead is free to experience the pure joy of existence in its truest form. The Field of Reeds is the ultimate reward for those who have lived in balance with Ma'at, a place of peace, contentment, and eternal happiness. Chapter 5. The Role of Ma'at. At the heart of the entire process of judgment and afterlife stands the figure of Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance. Ma'at is more than just a deity. She is the embodiment of the principles that govern both the world of the living and the afterlife. Without Ma'at, there would be chaos, disorder, and imbalance, and the entire system of the universe would fall apart. Ma'at is often depicted with a feather on her head, the very same feather that is used in the weighing of the heart. This feather is the symbol of her essence, light, pure, and true. It represents the idea that a life lived in accordance with Ma'at's principles is one that is balanced, free of deceit, and in harmony with the natural order of the world. In life, the people of Egypt sought to live in accordance with Ma'at's teachings. They understood that every action they took, every word they spoke, had an impact on the balance of the universe. To act selfishly, to lie, to harm others, these were not just moral failings, but disruptions to the cosmic balance. And so they strove to live with honesty, kindness, and respect for the world around them. Ma'at's influence extended beyond the individual. She governed the laws of society, the functioning of the government, and even the natural order of the world. The rising and setting of the sun, the flooding of the Nile, the changing of the seasons, all of these were seen as expressions of Ma'at's balance. To live in harmony with Ma'at was to live in harmony with the universe itself. In the afterlife, Ma'at's role was just as important. The weighing of the heart was a direct reflection of the life the soul had lived. A heart that was light, free of the weight of sin and deception, was a heart that had lived in accordance with Ma'at's principles. Such a heart was worthy of entering the paradise of the field of reeds, where the soul would continue to live in balance with the gods and the universe. But a heart that was heavy, burdened by lies, cruelty, or selfishness, was a heart that had failed to live in balance with Ma'at. Such a heart could not be allowed to enter the afterlife, for it would disrupt the harmony of the field of reeds. This was why Ammit, the devourer of the dead, existed, to ensure that the balance of Ma'at was maintained, even in the afterlife. Ma'at's principles were not just a guide for the afterlife, they were a guide for living a good life in the present. The people of Egypt understood that their actions in this life would determine their fate in the next, and so they sought to live in a way that honored Ma'at and the balance she represented. Chapter 6. The Eternal Balance. The story of the judgment of the dead is not just a tale of life after death. It is a story about the eternal balance that governs all things. From the moment a soul is born, it is connected to the fabric of the universe, a fabric that is woven with the threads of truth, justice, and harmony. This fabric is Ma'at, and it is through her that the universe remains in balance. In the Hall of Two Truths, the scales do not just weigh a heart against a feather. They weigh a life against the principles of Ma'at. The judgment is not about punishment or reward, but about ensuring that the balance of the universe is maintained. A soul that has lived in harmony with Ma'at will naturally find balance on the scales, while a soul that has disrupted the balance will tip the scales and face the consequences. The concept of balance extends beyond the individual. It is a cosmic principle that governs all things. The rising and setting of the sun, the movement of the stars, the cycles of life and death, all of these are expressions of Ma'at's eternal balance. Even the gods are bound by this balance, for they too are part of the cosmic order. For the people of Egypt, understanding this balance was the key to living a good life. They knew that their actions had consequences, not just in the present, but in the afterlife as well. By living in accordance with Ma'at, they could ensure that their hearts would be light when they stood before the scales, and that they would be granted eternal peace in the field of reeds. But the story of the judgment of the dead is not just about the past. It is a reminder that balance is something we must all strive for in our own lives. Whether we are living in the world of the living or preparing for the journey to the afterlife, the principles of truth, justice, and harmony are what guide us on the path to a good and meaningful existence. The Curse of the Pharaoh. Chapter 1. The Eternal Rest of the Pharaoh. Long before the golden sands of Egypt became the cradle of great civilizations, and long before the towering pyramids rose against the horizon, there existed a belief in the eternal connection between the living and the dead. In ancient Egypt, no figure embodied this connection more than the pharaoh, the divine ruler of the land, regarded as both a god and a king. Upon their death, a pharaoh did not simply pass from the world of the living to the world of the dead. They entered the realm of the gods, their eternal rest guarded by sacred spells, ancient magic, and, sometimes, a powerful curse. The tombs of the pharaohs were not just burial places, they were portals to the afterlife, carefully constructed with reverence and fear of the unknown realms beyond. Every stone, every treasure, every hieroglyph was placed with precision, designed to guide the soul of the pharaoh safely through the duat, the underworld, and into the presence of the gods. But these tombs were also built with another purpose: to protect the pharaoh from those who might disturb their eternal slumber. Imagine, if you will, the grandeur of a pharaoh's tomb. Deep within the heart of the earth, far beneath the sands, it is a labyrinth of dark, winding corridors, hidden chambers, and towering walls adorned with intricate carvings. The air is cool, almost cold, and the silence is palpable, broken only by the faint echo of your own breath. Every inch of the tomb is covered in sacred writings, spells from the Book of the Dead, guiding the soul of the pharaoh through the trials of the afterlife. The deeper you go, the more sacred the space becomes. Torches flicker weakly against the stone, casting long shadows on the walls as you move toward the final chamber. Here, at the heart of the tomb, lies the sarcophagus of the pharaoh. It is a masterpiece of craftsmanship, carved from the hardest stone and adorned with gold, jewels, and inscriptions that declare the divine power of the one who lies within. But this is not just a tomb. It is a sanctuary, a fortress, and it is guarded by the most powerful magic known to the ancient world. For the Egyptians believed that even in death, the pharaoh remained a ruler, and their tombs were not to be disturbed by mortal hands. To violate a pharaoh's tomb was to invoke a wrath that transcended time and space, a curse so powerful that it could reach beyond death itself. This was the curse of the pharaoh, a curse placed upon anyone who dared to enter the sacred tomb and disturb the eternal rest of the king. The curse was not merely a legend or a superstition, it was real, inscribed upon the walls of the tombs, a warning to grave robbers and explorers alike. Those who ignored the warning did so at their peril, for the curse was said to bring misfortune, madness, and death to all who dared to cross its threshold. But where did this curse come from? How was it woven into the fabric of these ancient tombs? And who, if anyone, could escape its power? To answer these questions, we must first journey back to a time when the pharaohs still ruled the land of Egypt, when their word was law and their connection to the gods was absolute. It was in this time that the seeds of the curse of the pharaoh were first planted, a time when magic, power, and death were intertwined in ways that few could comprehend. Chapter 2: The Birth of the Curse. The pharaohs of Egypt were not just kings, they were believed to be gods in human form, the living embodiments of Horus, the falcon-headed god of the sky, and the sons of Ra, the sun god. Their divine right to rule was not questioned, for they were seen as the bridge between the gods and the people, the keepers of order, justice, and prosperity. But with this divine power came great responsibility. The pharaohs were expected to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order that governed all things. They were not only responsible for the welfare of their people, but also for ensuring that the gods were honored, the land remained fertile, and the forces of chaos were kept at bay. To fail in this sacred duty was to invite disaster upon the entire kingdom. The pharaohs took their role seriously, and nowhere was this more evident than in the construction of their tombs. For the Egyptians, the afterlife was not just a place of rest. It was a continuation of the soul's journey, a place where the pharaoh would continue to rule, not just over Egypt, but over the land of the dead. Their tombs were not just graves, they were palaces, built to ensure that the pharaoh could continue their divine rule in the next world. The construction of a pharaoh's tomb began long before their death, often the moment they ascended to the throne. It was a monumental task, requiring the work of thousands of laborers, craftsmen, priests, and architects. The tomb was designed with the utmost care, with hidden chambers and secret passages meant to protect the pharaoh's body from thieves and those who might seek to desecrate it. But physical protection was not enough. The Egyptians believed in the power of magic, and they knew that the pharaoh's tomb needed more than just walls and stone to guard it. They needed the protection of the gods, the power of sacred spells, and the might of ancient curses. It was during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid, that the first known curse of the pharaoh was placed. Khufu, a ruler known for his ambition and his belief in the divine right of kings, was determined that his tomb would remain undisturbed for all eternity. He ordered his priests and magicians to create a series of powerful spells, each one designed to ward off those who might attempt to enter his final resting place. The curse was woven into the very stones of the tomb. It was inscribed on the walls, hidden within the hieroglyphs that told the story of Khufu's reign. It was whispered into the ear of the pharaoh's mummified body, sealed within the wrappings of linen that bound him. And it was written in the Book of the Dead, the sacred text that guided the soul of the deceased through the trials of the afterlife. The curse was simple, but its power was immense. He who enters this tomb shall be struck down by the wrath of the gods. His soul shall be consumed by darkness, and his name shall be erased from history. This was not an idle threat. The Egyptians believed that a person's name was their link to immortality. To have one's name erased from history was to be condemned to oblivion, to be forgotten by both the living and the dead. It was the ultimate punishment, a fate worse than death. The curse of Khufu's tomb was so powerful that it became the model for all future pharaohs. Every ruler who followed Khufu placed a similar curse upon their tomb, each one tailored to their specific beliefs and desires. Some curses called upon the wrath of Anubis, the god of the dead, to strike down those who disturbed the tomb. Others invoked the power of Seth, the god of chaos, to bring madness and destruction to those who dared to enter. And so, the curse of the pharaoh became a tradition, a part of the ritual of death and burial. It was a final act of power, a way for the pharaoh to maintain control over their kingdom, even in death. But the curse was not just for the benefit of the pharaoh. It was a warning to all who might seek to disrupt the sacred order of the world. For to disturb the tomb of a pharaoh was not just an act of theft or desecration. It was an act of defiance against the gods themselves. And the gods, as the Egyptians knew all too well, were not to be trifled with. Chapter 3. The Power of the Curse. The curse of the pharaohs was not simply a legend passed down through generations. It was believed to be a living, breathing force, capable of reaching across the boundaries of life and death to protect the sanctity of the tomb. But the power of the curse did not only lie in the words themselves. It was amplified by the intense belief in the divine, the gods, and the afterlife that permeated every corner of ancient Egyptian society. To the people of Egypt, magic and reality were intertwined. Every aspect of life was governed by rituals, prayers, and spells, each designed to maintain the balance of Ma'at, the cosmic order. The tombs of the pharaohs were constructed with the utmost reverence, not just as places of burial, but as sanctuaries where the body, soul, and name of the pharaoh could remain protected for eternity. But the curse was not merely a deterrent for grave robbers. It was also a safeguard against the forces of chaos, represented by the god Seth, who sought to disrupt the balance of the world. The tombs of the pharaohs were believed to be gateways to the afterlife, and the curse was a way of ensuring that this passage remained undisturbed by the mortal and divine forces that sought to undermine the power of the gods. The priests who inscribed the curses were skilled in the art of magic, trained in the sacred rituals that connected the world of the living with the world of the dead. They believed that their words had the power to influence the gods, to call upon the divine forces to protect the tombs from those who would desecrate them. And so, the curses were not just words. They were spells, imbued with the power of the gods themselves. These curses were inscribed in the pyramid texts, the coffin texts, and later in the Book of the Dead. They were written in hieroglyphs, the sacred script that the Egyptians believed had a direct connection to the divine. Every symbol, every word was carefully chosen to invoke the protective power of the gods. The tombs were also filled with amulets and charms, each one designed to enhance the power of the curse. These amulets, often made of gold, lapis lazuli, or other precious materials, were placed alongside the body of the pharaoh, ensuring that they would be protected in both life and death. The Eye of Horus, the Ankh, and the Scarab were among the most powerful symbols used to ward off evil and protect the soul of the deceased. But the true power of the curse came from the belief of the people themselves. The Egyptians lived in a world where the gods were always present, where the forces of magic and the divine influenced every aspect of life. They believed that to disturb the tomb of a pharaoh was to invite the wrath of the gods, and that this wrath would be swift and terrible. And so, for centuries, the tombs of the pharaohs remained undisturbed, their curses serving as a powerful warning to those who might be tempted by the riches within. But as time passed, and Egypt's great civilization began to decline, the tombs were forgotten by many. The sands of the desert slowly swallowed them, hiding their secrets from the world. Yet the curse remained, waiting in the darkness, a silent guardian of the pharaoh's eternal rest. Chapter 4. The Awakening of the Curse. Centuries later, the tombs of the pharaohs would be rediscovered, and with them the ancient curses that had been placed to protect their eternal rest. The world had changed, and the once great kingdom of Egypt had fallen into the pages of history. But the mysteries of the pharaohs, their tombs and their curses, had not been forgotten. In the early 20th century, Egypt became the focus of intense archaeological interest. Explorers and treasure hunters from all over the world flocked to the deserts, eager to uncover the secrets of this ancient civilization. They sought the treasures buried beneath the sands, gold, jewels, and artifacts that had been untouched for thousands of years. But with these discoveries came a warning. The tombs of the pharaohs were not to be entered lightly, for the curses inscribed on their walls still held power. It was said that anyone who disturbed the tomb of a pharaoh would be struck down by misfortune, illness, or death. One of the most famous stories of the curse of the pharaoh unfolded in 1922 with the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. The young king, who had ruled Egypt for a brief period before his untimely death, had been buried in a tomb filled with unimaginable riches. The discovery of his tomb by British archaeologist Howard Carter was hailed as one of the greatest archaeological finds of all time. But almost immediately after the tomb was opened, strange events began to occur. Lord Carnarvon, the patron of the expedition, died suddenly just months after the tomb's discovery. His death was attributed to an infection caused by a mosquito bite, but rumors quickly spread that he had been struck down by the curse of Tutankhamun. Others who were involved in the excavation also suffered mysterious deaths, illnesses, and accidents. Some believed that the curse of the pharaoh had been awakened, that Tutankhamun's tomb, like those of the pharaohs before him, was protected by powerful magic. The legend of the curse grew, fueled by the media and the public's fascination with the mysteries of ancient Egypt. But was the curse real? Or was it simply a coincidence, a series of unfortunate events that had been linked to the discovery of the tomb? To the Egyptians, there was no doubt that the curse of the pharaohs was real. They had always believed in the power of magic, in the ability of the gods to protect the tombs of their kings. To disturb the tomb was to break the sacred bond between the pharaoh and the gods, and the consequences of such an act were dire. For the modern world, the curse remains a mystery. Some dismiss it as mere superstition, while others believe that the curse is a real and powerful force, one that continues to protect the pharaohs even in death. Chapter 5. The Mysteries of the Curse. The curse of the pharaoh is more than just a tale of magic and misfortune. It is a reflection of the deep spiritual beliefs that guided the ancient Egyptians, a testament to their reverence for the afterlife and their understanding of the balance between life and death. The Egyptians believed that the soul, or Ka, continued to exist after death, but it required the body to remain intact in order to pass into the afterlife. This belief led to the practice of mummification, a process that preserved the body for eternity. The tombs of the pharaohs were designed to protect the body, to ensure that the pharaoh could continue their divine rule in the afterlife. But the curse was not just about protecting the body. It was about maintaining the sacred order of the universe. The pharaohs were seen as the earthly representatives of the gods, and their tombs were places of immense spiritual power. To enter a pharaoh's tomb was to enter the realm of the gods, to disturb the delicate balance between life and death. The priests who inscribed the curses were masters of magic, trained in the sacred rituals that connected the living with the dead. They believed that their words had the power to influence the gods, to call upon the divine forces to protect the tombs from those who would desecrate them. And so, the curses were not just words, they were spells, imbued with the power of the gods themselves. But the mysteries of the curse go deeper still. Some believe that the curse of the pharaohs is a manifestation of the pharaoh's own power, that the divine energy of the king continues to protect the tomb long after their death. Others suggest that the curse is a reflection of the ancient Egyptians' understanding of the natural world, that the tombs were built in alignment with cosmic forces that protect them from harm. Whatever the truth may be, the curse of the pharaoh continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. It is a reminder that the mysteries of ancient Egypt are far from being fully understood, that the power of the pharaohs, their gods, and their magic still lingers in the sands of the desert. Chapter 6. The Legacy of the Curse. The curse of the Pharaoh has become one of the most enduring legends of ancient Egypt, a tale of magic, power, and the divine protection of the dead. It has inspired countless stories, films, and books, capturing the imagination of people across cultures and generations. But beyond the legend lies a deeper truth. The curse is a reflection of the ancient Egyptians' profound respect for the dead and their belief in the afterlife. It is a reminder that the pharaohs, even in death, were seen as divine beings, deserving of reverence and protection. The tombs of the pharaohs were not just burial places, they were sacred sanctuaries, places where the living and the dead could connect with the gods. The curses that protected these tombs were not just threats, they were acts of devotion, a way of ensuring that the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife would remain undisturbed. Today, the tombs of the pharaohs continue to be studied and explored by archaeologists, historians, and scholars. But the mysteries of these tombs and the curses that protect them remain as powerful as ever. The legacy of the curse of the pharaoh endures, reminding us that some mysteries are not meant to be fully understood, that the power of the past still echoes in the present. The Secret of the Sphinx. Chapter 1. The Guardian of the Sands. In the endless sands of the Egyptian desert, where the golden dunes stretch to meet the horizon, there stands a figure that has watched over the land for thousands of years. It is a silent sentinel, a guardian of ancient secrets, and a symbol of both power and mystery. This is the great Sphinx of Giza, a colossal figure carved from a single block of limestone, its body that of a lion, and its head the visage of a pharaoh. For millennia, the Sphinx has stood at the edge of the Giza Plateau, watching over the pyramids of the kings, guarding the tombs and treasures of the pharaohs. It is a monument to human ingenuity and divine power, a testament to the ancient Egyptians' mastery of architecture and their deep connection to the gods. But the Sphinx is more than just a statue. It is a symbol, a riddle, and a keeper of ancient knowledge. It is said that beneath its calm, inscrutable face lies a secret, one so powerful that it has been hidden for thousands of years, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Some say that the secret of the Sphinx is the key to understanding the mysteries of ancient Egypt, the knowledge of the gods themselves. But what is this secret? How did the Sphinx come to hold such power? And why has its riddle remained unsolved for so long? To answer these questions, we must journey back to a time when Egypt was young, when the first pharaohs ruled the land, and the gods still walked among men. The Sphinx, with its lion's body and human head, is not just a symbol of the pharaoh's power. It represents the connection between the human and the divine, the balance between earthly strength and heavenly wisdom. The lion's body, strong and majestic, symbolizes the power of the king, the ruler of the land. The human head, calm and wise, represents the divine wisdom of the gods, the knowledge that the pharaohs were said to possess. The Sphinx is also a guardian, a protector of sacred places. Its role is to stand watch over the pyramids and tombs, ensuring that no harm comes to the pharaoh's final resting places. But some believe that the Sphinx guards something even greater, an ancient secret hidden deep within the sands, a secret that has the power to change the world. For centuries, scholars, explorers, and archaeologists have sought to uncover the truth behind the Sphinx. They have studied its form, its inscriptions, its alignment with the stars. But the Sphinx remains silent, its riddle unsolved, its secret hidden from those who seek it. Some say that the secret of the Sphinx is not meant to be found, that it is a gift from the gods, a mystery that can only be understood by those who are worthy. As we journey deeper into the sands of time, we will explore the legends, the mysteries, and the hidden knowledge that surrounds the great Sphinx of Giza. For within its stone body lies a secret that has been guarded for millennia, a secret that may hold the key to the ancient wisdom of Egypt's greatest kings and priests. Chapter 2. The Riddle of the Sphinx. The Sphinx is not just a guardian, it is also a riddler. In Greek mythology, the Sphinx is famous for posing a riddle to travelers, a riddle so challenging that those who failed to answer it were doomed to death. This version of the Sphinx is often associated with the Greek legend of Oedipus, who famously solved the Sphinx's riddle and saved the city of Thebes. The riddle was simple in form, but profound in its implications. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? The answer, of course, is humanity, symbolizing the stages of life, crawling as a baby, walking upright in adulthood, and using a cane in old age. But the Egyptian Sphinx, unlike its Greek counterpart, does not ask questions of travelers. Instead, it presents a deeper riddle, one that is not spoken in words, but written in the very stones of its construction, in its alignment with the stars, and in the myths that surround it. The riddle of the Egyptian Sphinx is not one that can be answered with a simple statement. It is a riddle that challenges the very nature of knowledge, of life, and of the universe itself. One of the most enduring mysteries of the Sphinx is its origin. While most Egyptologists agree that the Sphinx was built during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, around 2500 BCE, there are those who believe that the Sphinx is far older, perhaps predating even the pyramids themselves. These scholars point to the weathering patterns on the Sphinx's body, suggesting that it has been eroded not just by wind and sand, but by water, indicating that the Sphinx may have been carved during a time when the region experienced significant rainfall, long before the reign of Khafre. If this is true, then the Sphinx could be thousands of years older than previously thought, built by a forgotten civilization, perhaps one that possessed knowledge lost to time. This theory has sparked endless debate among historians and archaeologists, but the Sphinx remains silent, its riddle unsolved. Another aspect of the Sphinx's riddle lies in its alignment with the stars. Some researchers believe that the Sphinx was built to align with the constellation Leo, the lion, during the vernal equinox around 10,500 BCE. At this time, the Sphinx would have faced directly east, watching the rising sun as it crossed the sky. This alignment suggests that the builders of the Sphinx had an advanced understanding of astronomy, one that may have been passed down from even older civilizations. But why would the builders of the Sphinx go to such lengths to align it with the stars? What knowledge did they possess that we have since forgotten? The answer to this question may be hidden in the riddle of the Sphinx, a riddle that challenges us to look beyond the physical, to see the connections between the heavens and the earth, between the gods and humanity. As we continue our journey, we will explore the deeper meaning of the Sphinx's riddle and how it connects to the ancient mysteries of Egypt's greatest kings, priests, and gods. Chapter 3. The Hidden Chambers. For centuries, explorers and archaeologists have speculated about what lies beneath the Sphinx. Some believe that hidden chambers filled with treasures or ancient knowledge are buried beneath its massive pores, waiting to be discovered. These chambers, they say, may hold the key to the secrets of the Sphinx and the mysteries of ancient Egypt. The idea of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx is not a new one. Ancient texts, including the writings of Herodotus and Plato, mention secret passages and hidden rooms beneath the Great Sphinx. These texts suggest that the Sphinx was built as a guardian, not just of the pyramids, but of a vast underground complex, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers that hold the wisdom of the ancient world. In the 20th century, modern technology allowed researchers to investigate these claims further. Using ground-penetrating radar and other advanced techniques, they discovered anomalies beneath the Sphinx, hollow spaces that suggest the presence of underground chambers. These findings have reignited interest in the possibility that the Sphinx is more than just a statue. It is the entrance to a vast, hidden world beneath the sands. Some believe that these hidden chambers may contain the Hall of Records, a legendary library said to hold the knowledge of the ancient world. According to legend, the Hall of Records contains scrolls and tablets that detail the history of humanity, the origins of the gods, and the secrets of the universe. These records were said to have been hidden away to protect them from destruction, waiting for the right time to be revealed. The idea of the Hall of Records is closely tied to the work of Edgar Cayce, a 20th century American psychic who claimed to have had visions of ancient Egypt. Cayce believed that the Hall of Records was located beneath the Sphinx and that it contained the wisdom of Atlantis, the lost civilization that, according to legend, existed long before Egypt's first dynasties. Cayce predicted that the Hall of Records would be discovered in the late 20th century, but despite extensive searches, no such chamber has been found yet. But what if the secret of the Sphinx is not a physical chamber, but something deeper, something hidden in the symbols and stories that surround it? Perhaps the true Hall of Records is not a place, but a state of mind, a connection to the divine wisdom that the Sphinx represents. As we journey deeper into the mystery of the Sphinx, we will explore the possibility that the hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx may not be a physical place, but a metaphor for the hidden knowledge within ourselves. Chapter 4. The Sphinx and the Stars. The ancient Egyptians were master astronomers, and they believed that the movements of the stars were deeply connected to the fate of humanity. The heavens were not just a backdrop to life on Earth, they were a map of the gods, a reflection of the divine order that governed all things. The Sphinx, with its gaze fixed firmly on the horizon, is thought to be a key part of this celestial map. Some researchers believe that the Sphinx was built to align with specific constellations, particularly Leo, the lion. During the vernal equinox around 10,500 BCE, the constellation Leo would have risen directly in front of the Sphinx at dawn, perfectly aligning with its lion-like body. This alignment suggests that the Sphinx was built as part of a grand celestial design, one that connected the pharaohs to the gods and the universe. But the Sphinx's connection to the stars goes beyond its physical alignment. The ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaohs were descended from the gods, and upon their death they would ascend to the stars, becoming one with the divine. The pyramids, like the Sphinx, were aligned with the stars, particularly Orion's belt, which was associated with the god Osiris, the ruler of the underworld. The Sphinx, as the guardian of the pyramids, was seen as the earthly counterpart to this celestial journey. It was believed that the Sphinx watched over the soul of the pharaoh as it ascended to the stars, ensuring that the divine order was maintained. The Sphinx's role as a guardian was not just physical, it was spiritual, a guide for the soul as it traveled from the mortal world to the afterlife. But the Sphinx's connection to the stars may also hold a deeper secret. Some researchers have suggested that the alignment of the Sphinx with the stars is part of a larger cosmic cycle, one that spans thousands of years. This cycle, known as the precession of the equinoxes, is the gradual shift in the orientation of the Earth's axis, which causes the position of the stars to change over time. According to this theory, the Sphinx and the pyramids were built to mark specific points in this cycle, creating a celestial calendar that tracks the rise and fall of civilizations. If this is true, then the Sphinx may hold the key to understanding not just the past, but the future, a map of the ages that reveals the hidden patterns of history and the destiny of humanity. As we continue our journey, we will explore the possibility that the Sphinx's connection to the stars is part of a grand design, one that connects the pharaohs, the gods, and the universe in a cosmic dance that spans millennia. Chapter 5: The Sphinx and the Gods. The Great Sphinx is more than just a symbol of earthly power. It is a representation of the divine, a link between the human world and the gods. The ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was not just a ruler, but a god in human form, the living embodiment of Horus, the falcon-headed god of the sky. Upon death, the pharaoh would become Osiris, the ruler of the underworld, and continue to govern the land from the afterlife. The Sphinx, with its lion's body and human head, embodies this divine connection. The lion, a symbol of strength and power, represents the pharaoh's earthly reign, while the human head, adorned with the Nim's headdress, symbolizes the wisdom and divinity of the gods. The Sphinx is both a ruler of the physical world and a guardian of the spiritual realm. But the Sphinx is also associated with other gods, particularly Ra, the sun god. The Sphinx faces directly east, watching the sunrise each morning, a symbolic connection to Ra's journey across the sky. The Egyptians believed that Ra traveled through the underworld each night, battling the forces of chaos, and was reborn each morning with the rising sun. The Sphinx, as the guardian of the pyramids, was believed to watch over this daily cycle, ensuring that the sun rose each day and that the cosmic order was maintained. Some researchers believe that the Sphinx was originally a statue of Ra, built to honor the sun god and his role in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Others suggest that the Sphinx was associated with Atum, the creator god who was believed to have risen from the primordial waters of Nun to create the world. Atum, like the Sphinx, was a guardian of the cosmic order, ensuring that the world remained in balance. But the Sphinx's connection to the gods goes beyond its physical form. It is said that the Sphinx holds the secrets of the gods, ancient knowledge that was passed down from the divine to the pharaohs. This knowledge, hidden within the Sphinx, may include the secrets of creation, the mysteries of the afterlife, and the true nature of the universe. As we approach the final chapter of our journey, we will explore the possibility that the secret of the Sphinx is a divine mystery, one that connects the pharaohs to the gods and holds the key to the ancient wisdom of Egypt's greatest kings. Chapter 6: The Secret of the Sphinx. After thousands of years, the secret of the Sphinx remains elusive. Despite centuries of exploration, study, and speculation, the true purpose of the Sphinx and the knowledge it guards have not been fully revealed. But perhaps the secret of the Sphinx is not something that can be found in a hidden chamber or deciphered from ancient texts. Perhaps the secret of the Sphinx is something deeper, something that can only be understood by those who are willing to look beyond the physical and into the spiritual. The Sphinx, with its calm, enigmatic face, seems to invite us to ask questions, to seek the truth. But it also reminds us that some truths are not meant to be discovered easily. The Sphinx's riddle is not a puzzle to be solved, but a journey to be undertaken. A journey that challenges us to explore the connections between the human and the divine, the physical and the spiritual, the past and the future. The secret of the Sphinx may lie in its role as a guardian of knowledge, of the soul, of the cosmic order. The Sphinx reminds us that the universe is vast and mysterious, that there are forces at work that we may never fully understand. But it also invites us to seek, to explore, and to learn, for it is in the pursuit of knowledge that we come closer to understanding the mysteries of the universe. The Sphinx has watched over the sands of Egypt for thousands of years, and it will continue to do so for millennia to come. Its secret, whatever it may be, remains hidden, waiting for those who are brave enough to seek it. As we leave the sands of Giza and the shadow of the Sphinx, we are reminded that the greatest mysteries are not those that can be solved with logic and reason. The greatest mysteries are those that challenge us to look beyond the surface, to explore the depths of our own souls, and to seek the divine within ourselves.